standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon everybody, and welcome to your live safari. A big special welcome to the Northland Elementary School of Virginia Beach, Virginia. It's lovely to have you with us today, and you're on a special live safari, and we want you to ask as many questions as you can. We're starting today's safari, of course, with a whole lot of monkeys. Now, monkeys are having a lovely time sitting there in the water having a bit of a drink, and I'll explain to you where they're getting their water from just now. My name is James Henry. On camera today is Wium. That's Wium's long thumb. Wium is not long at all. We're both quite small, actually. And we're looking at these monkeys, and I'm sitting like this because it's very relaxing here. It's about 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit, which is probably the same temperature as it is there in Virginia Beach. But we're in the middle of winter here, and you, I think, are in the middle of summer. So we still have the same temperature despite the fact that we're in winter. So let's just have a look at these monkeys. Now what they're doing is they're drinking water out of a hole in the ground. Now that hole in the ground they didn't dig. That was dug, everyone, by elephants. Elephants are very clever. They're able to feel whether there is water flowing underneath the surface or not. And here there is water flowing under the surface, so they've dug a big hole with their feet and with their tusks, and the monkeys and many other animals have come down to have a bit of a drink here. So the monkeys are having their drink now. And also, to the left of them, we have some impala. And the impala are the most common antelope species here. Now, I don't know if you guys know what an antelope is, but an antelope is basically the same as your deer. Not quite the same. We don't get deer here in Africa, but you get deer where you are, in your part of the world, in North America, and this is a similar sort of an animal. It's called an antelope, and this particular one is an impala. Anyway, it's very nice to have you with us, and we're on a live safari, which means you can ask me any questions you like, and I will try and answer them for you. And if I don't know, I'll ask Wium, and if he doesn't know, well, then I'm not sure that anyone knows. But we'll do our best to answer any questions that you might have. For those of you who are not at school, you are certainly welcome to make your comments and questions, and please do so. Hashtag SafariLive if you're tweeting away. Otherwise, questions at wildearth.tv. You can see that one monkey standing up. Can you see that one, Wium? There he is. Oh, he stopped standing up. But monkeys are able to stand up in the same way that human beings are. Well, sort of. They don't find it easy to walk, but they can stand up, and they can balance just like we can. And you know, if you think of all the animals that you're going to see today, and all the animals that you've ever seen before, you know that none of them stand on 2 feet like we do, and none of them can walk on 2 feet like we do. We are the only animals in the whole world who can walk for a long time on 2 feet, which I think is quite interesting. Hello Jack, you're obviously a very clever fellow, and you want to know what a monkey's predators are. Well, Jack, the main predator of monkeys, I suppose, would be leopards. Leopards are spotted cats, big cats about the same size as an American cougar, if you like, and they are the main predators of these monkeys. And the monkeys are very clever, you know. They are able to tell each other if they see a leopard. So if one of these monkeys was to see a leopard, what he would do is make a noise like this. He'd go, and then all the other monkeys would run up into a tree and they'd look, and when they saw the leopard, they too would start going. You see how they're looking at me? They know that I'm not really a monkey, but they're just making sure by looking this way. And then they'll see the leopard, and the leopard will know that it's been seen, and it will go away. But of course, a leopard is very clever, and it can hide in the bushes, and sometimes the monkey won't see it, and then they're in big trouble. But out in the open like this, they're probably just fine. Hello, Jackson. Jackson, you want to know if monkeys eat bugs. Yes, they do, you know. They eat fruit and they eat leaves, but they will also eat bugs. And they're a bit like us in that they will eat both meaty things and vegetable things. Now, we have a very special treat for you. We don't often see these here at Djuma. My friend Brent is sitting with a much larger primate.
Welcome to the Sunset Safari, and isn't that great to start with both of the large primate species we get here, the vervet monkeys and these, the chacma baboons. And they're busy feeding through a guarri thicket. Now, the guarri still have some tasty little fruits on them, and the baboons are taking advantage of this, so you can often see quite a few of the small bushes shaking about. And also, you see the baboons directly under the guarri bushes, picking up any little ones that have fallen onto the ground. So welcome, my name is Brent Smith. I have Bryan Joubert and the Thumb, who's had such a tough day he didn't get a chance to change out of his outfit from this morning. Sad Thumb. And together Bryan and I are sometimes known as the Killer Bees.
Oh yes.
And hopefully we can find you something killer sightings. As you can see, we're not in our normal vehicles, and we've had to modify a Mahindra for tonight's Sunset Safari. Hopefully we will be having a better plan soon. So bear with us if I start talking about what you're not seeing, but I can't see what the camera's saying. But in the meantime, let's try and get a bit closer to these baboons. Been sitting here for a while, so they might be a little bit relaxed. They do tend to run away from vehicles, but it looks like there's a really big troop of them. Now, baboon troops in this area generally can be anything from 50 to over 100 strong. And I would say these are probably somewhere between those two. There we go. I'm just going to sneak up. Here we go. Under the guarri bushes. So as we watch these baboons, there's still some more off to the right under the guarri bush. Mrs. Hale is wondering, are we able to track animals? We are, Mrs. Hale. What we do is we look for their footprints and then we follow them till we find them. And I'm hoping to find some leopard footprints this evening. Now, having the baboons in this area is quite a good thing, because they're like an alarm system for me. So not only do we track by following footprints, we track by the sounds animals make. And if the baboons happen to spot a lion or a leopard, they'll start alarm calling and making lots of noise. One got left behind. Okay. They're incredible creatures, baboons. Live in really complex social structures where they have multiple dominant males. And there's a lot of infighting for those top male positions amongst the troop of baboons. So they're sort of run by a group of sort of 10 or 15 male baboons. So let's try and get us a view of them. While we do that, Kaylin's wondering, do baboons hibernate? Well, Kaylin, they do not. We don't have nearly as many animal species that hibernate here in Africa. We have far more temperate is probably the wrong word, but we don't have as harsh winters and summers as you guys do. So we don't have snow here, and it's always quite warm. I mean, today is in the middle of winter. We're sitting at about 25 degrees Celsius, and as you can see, I'm in a shirt and short pants. The only things we really have that hibernate out here are some of our reptile species, tortoises, turtles, terrapins as we call them. Here's one walking on the road. I'm trying to find a big male, but I can't see any at the moment. But these troops will spread out over a really big area to feed. And they're constantly in communication with little contact calls, make funny little noises. But if they had to see a predator, they would shout, "Wow! Wow!" Very, very loud call that you can hear through the bush. And it seems like they're all being a bit shy. So, still on the subject of the chakma baboon, Nishan would like to know, do they break trees? Now, they might break some branches in the trees, Nishan, but they're not really strong enough to destroy a tree like an elephant. Let's have a look. They're being a bit skittish, so we're going to move on a little bit, see what else we can see, and hopefully we're going to find you lots and lots of animals today. So while we keep looking in this area for some leopard tracks to follow, let's go see what James is up to on the other vehicle.
We are back again, everyone, and what we're doing is also kind of looking for a leopard in this area, but let's see what else we can find. We haven't seen anything since you last saw us, but you know, my friend Wium is a very hungry fellow indeed. Wium, did you bring a picnic today? And what is it?
2 bananas.
2 bananas, 4 nachos, and a breakfast bar. But as you all know, your parents will tell you that you need to eat your greens. Wium's very, very bad at eating his greens, everyone, so we're going to help him eat his greens today. Now, this tree is called a buffalo thorn tree, or ziziphus. Can you say that? I'm going to say it once more, then I'm going to count to 3, and you're going to say it with me. Ziziphus. Okay, 1, 2, 3, ziziphus. And the ziziphus has got very nasty thorns, and it's got very nasty thorns. Here you can see them. Wium will show you the nasty thorns. And that's to stop the animals eating the delicious leaves. And you know, even for human beings, these leaves are pretty nice to eat. And so we're going to give some to Wium, because we want him to be healthy, don't we? If we don't want him to get scurvy. Scurvy, of course, is a disease that you can get if you don't eat enough leaves. Here you are, Wium. Put them in your mouth.
I had some yesterday.
Have some more now. What do you think?
Oh, not tanny.
Not too bad. So, it's kind of a natural African salad, if you like. Not the best thing in the world, but it's not too bad. Let's carry on and hope Wium doesn't get scurvy. You must eat your veggies, everybody. You don't want to get scurvy. Your teeth will fall out. Wium, show me your teeth. His teeth are all fine. Now, Sai, you want to know if we have snakes here. Yes, Sai, we do have snakes here. We have many, many, many kinds of snakes. But, you know, we hardly ever see them. That's because snakes don't really want to be around human beings. They're afraid of us. They know that we are predators. They know that we don't like them. And so they hide away when they hear us coming. And they can feel our feet moving on the ground, and then they hide away. And we're also in winter now, which means that the snakes, much like most of the reptiles where you live, will sort of go to sleep for the course of the winter time. Now, it's not cold here, but there's no water around. You saw how dry it was at that pond where the monkeys were just drinking out of a small hole about that big. And so because there's no water, the snakes will estivate. Now, estivate is a kind of sleep that they go into in the same way that hibernate is a kind of sleep they go into in places where it's very cold. So you know that the bears of North America go to sleep during the winter time, and that's called hibernation. The snakes here estivate, and that's because it's not so cold, but because it's very dry and there's nothing for them to drink. So we do get lots of snakes, but the chances of seeing one are very small. We might be very lucky though. We love to see snakes. What have you got? Ah. Oh, Mrs. Hale, this is a very good question from you, Mrs. Hale. How do you know what's safe to eat in the bush? Now, you can't just go into the bush and eat anything, everyone. You must be very careful that you know exactly what plant you're looking at. So over the course of many, many, many years, people have learned which plants are good for you to eat and which plants are poisonous and which plants are just kind of not very nice. So I know that that ziziphus tree is good to eat because I can identify the tree, and I know that over many hundreds of years the people of this area have learned that that's a good tree to eat. But if you go into the wild and you don't know what a particular fruit is, or you want to maybe try and eat a piece of leaf, don't. Unless you know what it is, you mustn't touch it. And we're just going to look around here. We have been seeing some leopards in this area, so we're just going to look around. Jack, I'm going to ask you what you think about your question. You said, do we get a lot of rain? Jack, look at the area around us. It's so dusty. None of the grass is green anymore, and so we don't get a lot of rain. We get some rain during our summer, so the rainy season is probably only between September and December. Otherwise, no, we don't get much rain at all. And you know, the whole of winter, we normally, for 3 months sometimes, we don't even see a cloud. It's just this gorgeous blue sky like you can see above us now. We're very, very lucky to have such a gorgeous blue sky for 3 months at a time. Now I'm going to be quiet. Let's just have a little listen. And I just want you to be very quiet, everyone. Just have a listen. You hear that? That's a very special bird called a grey hornbill. A grey hornbill. Now, Kaylin, you ask a very clever question, and your question is, how do leopards find their food? Well, leopards have very good noses, they have very good eyes, and they have very good ears, which means that they can find their food either by listening very carefully to crunching in the grass, or by looking, and that's normally how they do it. They normally do it by looking. Otherwise, they will smell their prey. And that there, everybody, is a grey hornbill. This book contains all the birds that we have here in South Africa, and in South Africa there are 900 species of birds. Now, even though South Africa is about 1/4 the size of America, we have more birds here than you have there, believe it or not, and that's because we live in a slightly warmer climate. That's the grey hornbill. He's the one making that lovely whistling sound. Okay, let's carry on. I had some leopard tracks in this area this morning, everyone. We can see what? There we go. Well spotted, Wium. That's the grey hornbill, everyone. Ah, that's very clever. That's a really nice picture of him. Let's see if he calls. I can hear his friend calling from the other side. Now, many of you, of course, will have seen the Lion King, and this is the Zazu bird. Zazu in the Lion King was a hornbill, and Zazu, in one of our South African languages, known as Zulu, means wise man. Izazu. They don't say it Zazu. That's how we people who don't really know how to speak Zulu say it. They say Izazu. There we go. Right. So I did have some leopard tracks in this area. Let's have a look. Maddie, very nice question from you. You want to know, what do the birds eat? Now, think about that carefully. If there are over 900 different kinds of birds, do you think that they eat the same thing, or do you think that they all eat slightly different things? And the answer, of course, is that they all must eat slightly different things. Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough to eat. So those birds, those hornbills, eat seeds and fruit, and sometimes they eat small insects as well. But sometimes you'll get birds that eat, they will eat meat. So eagles eat meat. Fish eagles, like your bald eagle in America, they eat fish. Some animals, like your buzzards or our vultures, well, they eat... Oh, there's some leopard tracks here of a female leopard, but they're not very fresh. So vultures and buzzards, as you know, they eat dead flesh that somebody else has killed. We're just going to look around here carefully, and if I can, I will try and show you a picture of the tracks of this leopardess. I thought when I came past here earlier this morning that it was from a young male leopard, but I see now that it is a female. And the difference is that one is bigger than the other. Right, let's go across to Brent and see what he has found.
So we're searching the western side of the edge of our traverse. We had a rumor that there was a young male leopard to the west of us here, and we're hoping he's meandered from where he was last known to be all the way into our traverse area on Juma Private Game Reserve. So what I'm doing on this nice big sandy road is I'm looking for those leopards' footprints, but unfortunately no luck so far. So the next thing I'm going to do is head towards a water hole, and at this time of the day and at this time of the year it's really dry. It's our dry season and we have a drought at the moment. Water holes attract lots and lots of different animals, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to find something there. Hi, Aslan. Aslan would like to know, how do I know what animals the tracks belong to? Well, I'm very lucky, Aslan. I've been looking at animal footprints for a very long time, and so that way I do know. I've been trained to look at the different animal tracks, and one of the other ways to learn, if you see an animal that you don't know its track, as soon as you see it walking, once it's gone past, you get out of the car and you look at the footprints. Hi, Lucy. Lucy wants to know, do we have cheetah? We do, Lucy. In this part of the reserve where I am at the moment, we don't see them too often, but there's always a chance. That's the best thing about being out in the bush, that you never know what could be around the next corner. So when you see me do this and put my head over the side of the car, it means I'm looking for animal tracks. And over here, we only have some elephant tracks, and I'm hoping those elephants have headed towards the water hole. So Sarah would like to know, how do cheetah catch food? Well, by being very fast. So what they do is they will sneak as close as they can, and then they run as fast as they can. They can run about 70 miles an hour, and that enables them to be able to catch their food. But so far, it doesn't even look like. Scuttling off. Do you see them there, Bryan? Oh, they're disappearing. There's some baby francolin, which is like a equivalent of a grouse to you. And this particular species is called an Untitled francolin, and it gives birth to their babies much later in the year than a lot of the other birds. Well, they're not being very nice. They're scuttling away from us. Aslan would like to know, how do lions find their food? Now, lions have a slightly different approach to cheetah, but still quite similar. They need to sneak much closer because they're not as fast as a cheetah. They can only run about 50 miles an hour. So they normally sneak to within 100 feet or so before charging off to grab their prey. But now with a lot of these animals, they're not very successful. Out of 10 chances at catching something, only successful in about 1. Hi, Jackson. Jackson's in the right hemisphere. Wrong. Are there kangaroos here? No, they live in Australia. We don't have any marsupials in Africa. So there's nothing going down towards that water hole. So I'm going to head to the next water hole, and I'm hoping to find some elephants around there. Hello, Eliza. Eliza would like to know, what training do you need to get a job like mine? Well, Eliza, you need to spend lots of time learning about animals. training course. Sorry. There are some formal training courses, but the best training you can get is being out in the bush and getting experience. And what I really love about this is that you never stop learning. There's something new to see every day. But the animals are hiding from us today. I'm hoping to find some for you shortly. And I do see some animals up ahead. And they were running quite quickly, but there's some that aren't running as quickly as well. So we're going to show you an impala. Now, impala is the most common antelope in Africa. Oh, they ran across the road. There she goes. You can see how fast she is, and she was only running at less than half speed. And so that's why it's quite difficult for lions and leopards and cheetah to catch them. There's some more over there. So they're about the same size as a white-tailed deer that you get in America. But they're an antelope. So deer's horns fall off every year, and antelope's horns stay there for its whole life. Now, female impala don't have any horns. I'm trying to see if I can spot a boy. He's got horns. Now, Kaylin's wondering, do cheetah blend in? They do. That's why they're spotty. It helps break up their outline so they can sneak closer to animals. So they do blend in to a certain degree, but with all the weapons a cheetah and lions and leopards have for catching animals, now all the other animals that get eaten, they've developed their own set of defenses to be able to get away from them. Now, for me, the most fascinating fact about an impala is that they have been exactly the same. They have not changed for 1.6 million years. So it's such a successful evolutionary design that there's been no need to evolve further. So when you find a fossil of an impala from 1.6 million years ago, the bones and that look exactly the same as an impala from today. Oh, but we're going to be causing a traffic jam, so we're going to leave them. Now, Sai's wondering, what do impala eat? Now, one of the reasons... Oh, there's a little boy. His horns haven't quite got big yet. They're still growing. Oh, he's going to run across the road for us. Yay! You can see how fast he is. They're very good at jumping. They can jump over 20 foot in one go. Oh, next one coming, Bryan. Next, oh, and when one runs, often all of them run together. There we go. Now, oh, no, there you go. Next one. Here they come. Oh. And you can hear that talking. That's the moms talking to the others. Stop it. Don't be naughty. Oh, very beautiful. Look at that little pronk they do there. So they're actually playing now. Now, with a lot of animals out in the bush, playing is practice. Practice for when the cheetah comes. Now, we were asked about what impala eat. What makes impala so successful is the fact that they are able to eat both grass and leaves. Oh, there's a big daddy. You can see he's got much bigger horns. Now, Elijah is wondering, how fast can they run? Well, Elijah, they can do probably about 60 miles an hour, but they can do it for a lot longer. Not 60 miles, sorry, about 50 miles an hour. I was but they can do it for a lot longer than a lion can. A lion is a sprinter, and a cheetah. They can only do it for a very short time, and then they get too tired. But the impala can keep going for much further, and that's one of their ways of getting away from the animals that try to eat them. Well, at least we found an animal. We found some baboons, some monkeys, impala. And now I'm hoping to find you a big animal, an elephant or a buffalo. So while I try to find you one of the biggest animals in the bush, James has got one of the biggest and most beautiful antelope to show you.
Now this, everyone, is called a kudu. And a kudu is one of my favourite antelope, my second favourite antelope. And you can see the male has got very special horns. Those are those big curving things that you might call antlers where you are in the United States. They're not antlers, they're horns, which means they don't fall off. They just get bigger and bigger every year. Isn't he lovely? See how big his ears are? And just like the big bad wolf, he's got ears so that he can hear. Now, Sean, you want to know what they use their antlers for. Remember, these are not antlers. They are horns in the same way that a cow doesn't have antlers. They've got horns, and the difference is that antlers fall off. Now, why do you think that the males would have horns and the females not? Well, of course, as you know, with many animals, the males fight with each other every so often, and they fight with each other to attract females and to fight each other off other females when they want to be daddies. And so that's what goes on here. That's why they have got horns. In the same way that your deer have antlers, only the males, so that they can fight with each other, it's the same with the antelope here, like the kudu. Now, you've seen that kudu bull chewing and chewing and chewing, but have you actually seen him take a bite of anything? I bet you haven't. Now, he's not having chewing gum. Let's watch him carefully. Watch his mouth. He's chewing again. But what do you think he's chewing? Let me move a little bit forward so that you get a better picture of him. There we go. Now what I want you to do is watch him carefully. Okay, are you watching him? Watch him chewing. And I'm going to tell you what he's chewing just now, but you're going to be able to see. Let's just see. Are you looking? He's not very polite, is he? I'm sure your mum and dad have told you must eat with your mouth closed. This kudu is not very polite. He's not eating with his mouth closed. Now watch him. Watch his neck. You watching? Did you see that, everybody? He just basically vomited into his own mouth. Ugh! It's disgusting. Can you imagine? Now, the reason he's doing that is because he is chewing the cud. Now, I imagine that you've heard the term chewing the cud before, and that means that he is chewing the food that he ate before, and that's because he's what we call a ruminant. Now, all the deer that you have, and all of the antelope that we have, and all the cows and cattle, they are all cud chewers. They're ruminants, which means when they eat the food that they eat for the first time, there he did it again, you saw, they just swallow it almost whole, then they store it in the first part of the stomach, and then later when they're having a bit of a relax and standing in the shade like this chap is doing, well, then they re-chew their food. And it's a very, very efficient way of eating. Nathaniel, what a very good question. You want to know why kudu have humps. It's not so much a hump as it is a shoulder. That's just where his shoulders are, Nathaniel. It's not really a hump. There may be a little bit of fat there, and that fat there will help him when it's dry or when there's not much to eat. Watch him again. Yuck. You can see the top of his ears, they're a bit scratched. And they're a bit scratched and torn because he lives in thick bush, you see. And so he needs to walk through the thorns, and thorns like that Ziziphus which I gave to Wium, well, they will tear his ears. And Caleb, while they're standing here, of course, doesn't know, you can't tell whether they run fast or not. But I can tell you that any animal out here that runs slowly, well, it's going to be eaten by a leopard or a lion or a hyena or a wild dog or a cheetah or even a jackal. So yes, kudu can run very, very fast. There are many, many very fast animals out here, and most of them much, much faster than us. I know that you guys like to think that you're very fast, and we also like to think we're very fast as adults, but we're not, you know. Compared with most of the animals out here, we are very, very slow. Right, let's carry on up the road here and see what else we can find. Now, Jackson, you want to know whether those are male or female kudu. The males are the ones with the horns, and the females have no horns. So there were some females there, and there were some males as well. Some females and some males. The male with the horns, the female with no horns. Now we're going to go on to this reserve over here and see if we can't find any more tracks of the female leopard that we had earlier. Ooh, there's an elephant. Do you see the elephant, Wium? I bet you didn't. Wium. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get a bit closer quite quickly. Oh, yeah, they're right here, everybody. Now, this is the biggest animal that you'll find here. Can you see it? Not even Wium has seen it yet. And yet there's an elephant somewhere in the bush here. Look over there. You can just see some of the leaves moving. You see that? See that? Just behind there, everybody, is the world's biggest land animal, an elephant. Let's go and look. Now we're going to move very slowly towards the elephant because we don't want to give him a fright, because if we give him a fright, he'll give us a fright. That looks like a little one. And when you see one little one, then you've got to look everywhere around to make sure that you know where all the elephants are. There we go. So this is a small elephant, everybody. The rest of the herd, I think, is behind him. He's still very big, though. Here's another big one coming across the road. Look at that. That's a big cow. Big female elephant. And there's an even bigger one behind there. Look at that huge grey shape. They are very big. They stand about 10 feet at the shoulder. So where that kudu had a hump, he was about 6 feet and 2 inches. That big elephant there is about 10 feet at the same height. And this one is probably about 8 years, oh no, maybe 6 years old, this elephant here. Isn't that nice? And he's not shy to see us, which is great. What we don't want is them to be afraid of seeing us. And so we drive slowly up to them so that they aren't afraid of us. Right, so from a little elephant here, Brent has got a very big elephant bull.
So look at this. This is a really big elephant bull. Now, he probably weighs around 6,000 kilograms. He's massive in his prime, probably about 40 years old. Let's just move forward a bit. Hello, big boy. So Nathaniel, I was just saying, you can get to about he's probably around 6,000 kilograms, and the biggest ever recorded, or heaviest ever recorded elephant was 9,000 kilograms, 9 tons. And I know you guys out there in America, Nathaniel, you use pounds. So there we go. He's probably, this one next to us here is probably around 13,500 pounds. And at the top of his shoulder, and that's the tallest point in his body, this one's probably around 10 feet tall, and that's the top of his shoulder. and he's busy chewing on a marula tree. So these big bulls obviously, okay, look at that, he's breaking the branches and he's chewing to get to the bark, and just under the bark there's a thing called the cambium layer. Now what that does is it transports water and nutrients from the roots of the tree up into the rest of the tree, and obviously a big animal like that, he needs lots of nutrients to survive. Now he probably eats about 400, 500 pounds of trees and grass a day. Bosman's wondering, why does he have tusks? Now, there's two main reasons elephants have tusks. One is it helps them to feed. It helps them to peel bark off the... You hear him crunching away on that branch. It helps them to peel bark off trees to eat. And for a big bull like this, it helps him to fight. So when he wants to find a girlfriend, he's got to go fight all the other boys, and those tusks will help him. Now you can see he's got a very long nose, and we call that a trunk. And Caelan's wondering, do they eat with their trunk? Caelan, their trunk is very important. Look how you can see he moves it around, puts it in his mouth. So their trunk they use to pick up food, to smell, to drink with. So very important. And yes, they do use their trunk for feeding. So we're just talking about his big nose, the trunk. Aaron's wondering, how does an elephant drink? Well, Aaron, what he does is he sucks all that water, and he can suck about just under 2 gallons of water into his nose, and then he'll put his nose in his mouth and then spray it like a big straw, but working the opposite way into his mouth. Now, elephants can talk to each other, but they talk to each other in a very low rumble that's quite difficult for us to hear. You can see his big flapping ears, so he can hear things far, far away, and they speak in these low communications that sound a little bit like this. So the big bulls are normally by themselves, so the males, unless they're looking for girlfriends, stay by themselves. So the mommies and babies all live in breeding herds, and you normally find the big bulls like this either by themselves or in a group of 2 or 3. Now, elephants are gentle giants, and he is just the most magnificent big boy. But North Landing Elementary, it's been great having you on safari with us, and don't forget you can join us when you're not at school as well. Just ask your teacher how. But hopefully we'll have you on another live safari shortly. But for now, toodaloo. But one last look at the big Ellie. And while we leave this gentleman to munch on, let's go see what Commander Bond is up to.
Hello everybody, we've come on to Arathusa and we're hoping to go and see those Salala lionesses and the young male. And they're not too far from here, they're just in front of the Arathusa camp. and we're going to do our very best to get in there. I'm just struggling a little bit with the radio to find out who's there and who isn't. So we're going to drive slowly that way. I'm pretty sure that by the time we get there, we'll be able to get in. Now, just be aware that if we do get into that sighting, it's going to be pretty silent from your point of view. I won't be able to hear you. We can't copy the... It's right in the middle of a kind of dip. So it's very difficult for us to copy what the final control is saying to us. So they can't really relay your questions. So we won't be there for too long, but you know, it's such a perfect little site. There's water, there's shade, there's dappled light, and it's just very beautiful. Well, it was this morning. I'm not sure what it'll be like today, this afternoon. But we'll go and have a look-see. But first, we'll pop into the water hole at Arathusa. Just listening. Ah. So we'll just pop down towards the Arathusa Dam. See what we can find around there. Sorry, the radio is very loud in my ear now. We'll just go a little bit faster. Make sure that I know... Ooh, there's another kudu. Lovely big male kudu. Second lovely kudu that we've seen so far. He's just standing. You saw him jump there maybe as we bumped on the road. Very nervous they are, kudu. Always. Those ears, I mean, I know, like I said to the kids, like the big bad wolf, all the better to hear with. Well, that really is genuinely what they're for. And they're pretty nervous. This guy also chewing his cud. Hello, Sid. A very nice one from you, and I think you're... I mean, it's a question that we get asked quite a lot, and it's a very good one. Do antelope get mesmerized by headlights in the same way that deer do? Yes, exactly the same. They get completely mesmerized, and that's why at night when we drive around here with a spotlight, if we come across, say, a herd of impala or a herd of kudu, we flick the lights off. Otherwise they start running towards the lights, kind of blind. And I find it a bizarre behavior. I don't really understand it. I'm not sure why it should happen, because I mean, as human beings, we should certainly, it would be the last thing that we do is run towards the light. But anyway, that's what they do. You don't find them running towards the sun, do you? But absolutely exactly the same. More elephant tracks on the road. I think that we're going to find lots and lots of elephants around this area, close to the Arathusa Dam, as we go closer towards the very dry parts of the season. And the herds are also going to get that much larger. Hello, Melissa from North Carolina. Very nice question from you. You know, we talk about naming leopards and we name the lions, and your question is basically, I suppose, do we do the same with the other animals around here? Do we give them names? Do we keep track of the families and the herds? The answer is, when we can, yes, we do. So, for example, let's take cheetah, which tend to move a little more widely and more nomadically than lions and leopards. We know of two male cheetah that use cheetah plains quite a lot in the northern parts of Buffelshoek. But, you know, because they roam so widely, they're seldom on the reserves where we know them. So we don't give them names, but we do watch them and we watch their progress. Now, if you go to something like elephants, which are not territorial, which means they move around in areas in a home range that they don't defend, which means the area is normally pretty large, well, then it's difficult to keep track on them. We do recognize certain elephants from obvious features, like, for example, we watch a little family or little herd of elephants where the matriarch has got the bottom third of her trunk missing. So her and her offspring are very easy to identify, but a lot of the time it's very difficult to identify which elephants are which. And I think of the example of An elephant cow we've called Fang because she's got a very long kind of tusk, and that tusk, which is recurved and points backwards, is very obvious and makes her easy to recognize. But because of that, it's easy to recognize that we don't see her very often, so we know that we don't see them very often. So it's mainly only the animals that are territorial within our area that we take the time to look at. We're just going to examine the waterhole here. Doesn't seem to be much here. While we do that, let's head across to Brent Leo Smith, who's got a waterbuck.
Now, isn't this just an absolutely gorgeous late winter's afternoon scene? A lovely big male waterbuck quenching his thirst at the Buffelshoek waterhole. I was hoping to find some elephants, but sometimes it's quite nice to spend some time with the other members around. There we go. And quintessentially Sabi Sands. Sabi Sands is the greater game reserve we're in, and the waterbuck, a male waterbuck, is the emblem for the Sabi Sands. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? You can see the reflection lovely on the water. These waterholes are such vital cogs in the ecosystem, especially in the dry season, and even more so this year with this drought we're experiencing. It looks like he's had his fill. Oh, and he's going to head off. There's also a lovely bird, a grey heron. Oh, look at him jogging first, actually. Needed some speed. Engaged second gear to get up the hill. And there's a grey heron, looking for any little aquatic insects or frogs that might be around. Now this waterhole's dried up once already this year with the drought we're having, and then we luckily got some late rain that filled it up quite a bit. Not very deep at the moment. And then one of the more common residents of waterholes in this part of the world is a good old buffalo bull. Dugger boy, it's what they're called. Now, the reason they're called dugger is, if you have a look at him, he's caked in mud. Now, in the sort of South African history in terms of the mines, the dugger boys were the toughest and the roughest, and always caked in cement. So they used to mix cement for building, and were quite renowned for sort of knife fights and overindulgence in alcohol and ladies and any type of thing. But they were incredibly tough and incredibly dangerous. And the fact that these old buffalo bulls are constantly covered in mud, and that's a Zulu word for that sort of cement, is dugger, and that grey mud that sticks to them is where that story comes from, and where they got the nickname Dugger Boy. Because on foot they are one of the more dangerous animals we encounter. Not so much when buffalo in big breeding herds, but when they are these lone bulls like this, they are past breeding herds. They're quite old, normally between 12 to 15 years old, and hearing might be a little bit affected, and of course being by themselves they're not as aware, not so many sets of eyes to see any potential threats, and they often stay around the river systems, water holes, sleep in thickets, so you often see them when they're very, very close to you, and sometimes within that sort of flight or fright zone. So, oh, he's going to lie down. Oh, yes, old man, you deserve to lie down. And all the flies, you can actually see he's got. Can you see them on camera, Brian? There's literally a swarm of flies irritating him. Now that causes him to roll in the mud to try help with all those fly bites. And if I got bitten by that many flies on a daily basis, I think I'd also be quite a cantankerous old devil. So we're going to move along, see what else we can find, and just remember, if you want to ask myself or James a question, just pop us an email to questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag SafariLive if you're a tweeter. So the reason we're checking these areas at the moment is that the Nkuma lioness either has her cubs in one of these drainage lines here, the second one. So we're pretty sure she's given birth. We actually haven't had confirmation of the cubs just yet, but we're just constantly checking. This is the closest water if she has used this little river system here. If she's used the other river system, then the closest water will be the Juma pan. So always keep a lookout, and she might arrive at strange times to drink there middle of the day. But so we're just having a quick look to see if we can find any tracks. Hello, Bill. He's in New Jersey. Bill's asking, is an old buffalo bull like that prone to being killed by a predator because of old age? Most definitely, Bill. Animals out in the bush don't really die of old age. They generally get caught by a predator first. So the older you are, the more chance that you are going to become someone's dinner. Now, the only animal that really hunts buffalo here in this area is lions, and a single buffalo bull like that would definitely be a target for a pride of lions. Hi, Zach. Zach's put forward a very interesting question. Why do lions not see humans as a food source? Have they been conditioned? They have over many hundreds of thousands of years, Zach. Now, they do see us as a food source, just not during the day. Man has evolved into the dominant diurnal predator, and lions will 9 times out of 10 run away from you, or even when you're on foot walking through the bush during the day. However, as soon as darkness falls, you are very much within a lion's prey spectrum, and they will actively and happily hunt you if you wander around at night. Now, that's one of the reasons people like to go home when it's dark. It's our evolutionary instincts kicking in, saying, stuff out in the night is going to eat me. But as soon as the sun comes up, it's safe again. Relatively speaking, of course.
Okay, thanks.
Now we're checking for the Nkuma lioness, who one has cubs, I think, behind us. Another, we know for sure, has cubs in Torchwood. And Deborah, the armchair traveler, is wondering how old do lion cubs need to be before they're introduced to the pride. Well, Deborah, it depends on the pride, but it's normally around a month and a half to 2 months old. Sometimes even a little bit later, sometimes a bit earlier. But I think a mean safe average would be around 2 months. They are just the cutest little things, lion cubs. But so far, no tracks just yet. So we're going to duck up to the eastern edge of our traverse area, see if we can find any sign of movement of big cats, and maybe a big herd of ellies would also be nice. So we've just left a live buffalo. Let's go look at a dead one with James.
There is a vulture, everybody, and we've come into the area where the lions were. I know they are still in this area because I can see a whole lot of vehicles around, well, 2 vehicles around where the actual lions are. But I just thought I'd show you these 2, what we call hooded vultures. They are the kind of, well, they're the kind of lower echelon of vulture society. They don't really have much status, and they come to the site, to these kind of carcasses, and they feed only once. The white-backed vultures, which are much more numerous and much larger, once they have finished feeding, then the hooded vulture gets to eat. Now, what you will notice about them compared with most vultures is that they've got that very small pin-like little beak, and that means that they're able to get at flesh, animal flesh, in amongst the bones where the other vultures, and certainly most of the predators, are completely unable to get. And so they have specially adapted to sort of finishing off the last little bits of sinew and that sort of thing. Now, when I'll show you exactly what it is they want to eat, that's an incredible picture, actually. Look at the sharpness of the little, and it's like a dentist's pick, the end of that little beak. And it's not so little. I mean, that vulture's at least 3 feet long. And he's got that rather pathetic little head of hair on him that makes him look like an English judge. Isn't that nice? Now I'll show you what he's been eating, or what he's hoping to try and eat. They'll be a little bit nervous to come onto the ground with us here, but over there is the carcass. And let me just move my head out the way. That's the buffalo. Now, I don't know how many of you were watching this morning, but there was a lot of meat left on that buffalo carcass, and I guess those lions have eaten their fill. Just move my head further out of the way. They've eaten their fill. I think there have been lots of vultures around here today. It certainly looks like it's been picked clean by the larger vulture species, and probably before game drive started, even these little hooded vultures would have been down here with their dentist pick beaks, picking out the little bits of sinew that are left. Very interesting situation that occurred here, and we're not really sure why, but obviously when we came through yesterday, 2 male lions were here. They were eating it. The 2 Matimba males, Ginger and Hairy Belly, they disappeared sometime during the night, seems to have gone off south. Then when they arrived here this morning, this was just before we got here, there were hyenas eating it, and then those 3 lions pulled in somewhere around sort of 7:30 this morning, and they chased the hyenas off, and we had an incredible sighting over here. Let's move down towards where the lions are, and we'll get a nice view of them, hopefully. I suspect that they are fast asleep. But you can see how perfect this little situation is. Lovely dappled light in the shade, water for the animals to drink, delicious meal if you happen to be a vulture or a lion or even a hyena. For us, not so much. But if it was fresh, yes, quite. And we had a fire to cook it on. And Carla, you say they sure did a good job on that buffalo. Absolutely they did, didn't they? They've completely eaten it. There was lots of meat left this morning. Just ease our way through here. There's a lion, right here. Having a drink, or smelling in the bushes. I'm not sure we'll get a much better view. We might. No, we will from here. What she's doing, you know what she's doing? She's eating grass. She's trying to line her stomach. How's that, Wium? A little bit forward? That's horrendous, isn't it? There we go. There you can see just eating some grass. And of course, you know, there's really not a lot of roughage in the lion diet. And we had a great question today about why animals lick carcasses. So why does this lioness lick a carcass before she eats? I think it's to get hair into the stomach for roughage, but you'll probably find that the cellulose and lignin in grass is a better way of lining the digestive tract. She's had a big fat meal now. She'll want to get rid of that meal eventually, with my luck probably in front of us, and that will be facilitated by eating some fibre-rich food. I love seeing animals in this kind of light, in this sort of deep green. Let me try and move a little forward. You might get a slightly better view of her. I think this is the other lioness. So by the other, I mean the pride is kind of dominated, well, not dominated, I guess. The oldest member of the pride is a female with, yeah, that's probably about as good as we're going to get at the moment, is a female without a tail. Now this lioness is pale. You can see she's quite pale around the neck. She's not quite a white lion, but she's certainly much paler than most lions I've seen. And she's got a full tail. And the other member of this little pride here at the moment is a young male of about 2.5 to 3 years, I think. And we don't often see them. They're almost without a territory, these chaps. Or I suppose this could be considered the very northern reaches of their territory, but it certainly overlaps with the Styx pride to the east of where we are now, and definitely with the Nkuhumas to the west and to the north. And that's why they were very skittish this morning. Every time they took a bite, they'd sort of dive into the carcass, bloody their noses, and then look up and make sure that there was nothing coming to attack them. You want to go forward? Okay. Say when. Oh, I see. That was very clever of you, Wium. Very clever indeed. Wium's not just a pretty face, everybody, bedecked with a fine red beard. Ginger beard, yes. She really is grazing. She looks a little bit like a sort of bushbuck having a meal.
Looks like she's browsing now.
Yeah, she's maybe browsing even. Unless she's carried a piece of the... No, she's definitely eating grass. I mean, she's a vegetarian. Hello, little Gracie, aged 8 in Ohio. You want to know if the buffalo will make the lion sick? Gracie, you know, you've seen this before. You know that these lions can eat the worst kind of most disgusting meat in the world. It doesn't make them sick. We don't really know why, except that we know that they have very powerful digestive systems, so they've got lots of acid. Now, acid is something that will kind of burn away and dissolve just about anything, so they've got lots of acid in their stomachs. They've got very powerful enzymes, which is a special kind of chemical that helps them to digest bacteria and protein in their stomachs. So even though it would make you and I very sick indeed, we wouldn't be able to eat that at all. But this lioness and her friends, well, they can eat in just about anything, and even something that you wouldn't think about smelling. So they can eat those. And the other interesting thing about this lioness, everyone, is that she's also got very amber eyes, rather like our friend Amber Eyes. Sandy, you reckon these lions don't look like they're in very good condition? I don't think that they are a bad condition. I think you say you reckon their fur's not so good. No, I think their fur looks all right, Sandy. You know, she's good meat around the shoulders. Her hips aren't showing. I think she's in pretty good condition. She's lean. Look, she is quite lean. She's also still quite young, though, I think, and so she's not going to be as large and beefy as some of those very mature Nkuhuma lionesses. I suppose she could be a little fatter, But I don't think she's in bad shape, Sandy. I've seen lions in far worse shape. The big indicator, of course, as it is with most animals, is if their hips start to stick out at the back. And those aren't sticking out. And those scratches and things are probably just from, you can see Sisyphus thorns sticking into her. She doesn't seem to mind at all. Cecilia, I'm sorry I missed your question. You say, there's a viral video of 3 lionesses drinking something somewhere. Oh, licking water off a couple's tent. Yes, I have seen it. Absolutely amazing video. So for those of you who haven't seen it, there were some people camping somewhere wild. I'm not sure where it was exactly. And the moisture from the dew condensed on their tent while they were snoozing in it, and they woke up the next morning to find 2 or 3 lionesses licking the moisture off the tent. And they filmed it from inside. And the lions, I think, just wandered off eventually. Unbelievable, unbelievable experience those people had. I've no doubt they were absolutely terrified by it. I probably would have been fairly terrified by it too, but they turned out to be absolutely fine. But what an incredible experience to have had. There we can see this vegetarian lioness. That's probably why she looks lean, Sandy. She doesn't eat meat. I'm talking absolute rubbish, of course. She does eat meat. Matthew, I think I know where this question comes from. You say, do lions have a good sense of smell? They do have a good sense of smell, Matthew, a very good sense of smell, but you wouldn't think so, because if you go to a carcass where they're eating, it smells like the bowels of hell itself, and yet the lions will happily chomp away and eat that disgusting meat, the sort of rotting offal that comes out of the middle of a buffalo. They'll eat that with pleasure, and it makes you wonder how on earth could they possibly smell anything if they're prepared to eat that. Well, it's just that their impression of smell is very different from ours. And they'll pick up, say, the scent of a human being walking close by far faster than we would be able to. They probably also can smell their prey when they're on the hunt, and so they have a very sensitive sense of smell. It's just a different idea in their minds as to what's good to smell and what's horrible to smell. This is wonderful. You know, I've got to tell you, this is a special sighting. First of all, we're seeing her eat a lot of grass, which I think is fascinating. Secondly, it's only about 4:30 in the afternoon, and, well, it's 4:15 in the afternoon, and this lion is actually doing something other than lying down. Look at the beautiful green colours here, with her pale sort of golden fur. I think this is just stunning. I missed the name, I'm afraid, because the communications are just too rough at the moment. I think it's Maritza or something like that in North Carolina. And you want to know about whether or not lions, is there anything they don't eat? Well, normally they don't eat a great deal of vegetation. I wouldn't think they'd eat this common spike thorn, for example. There's no meat they won't eat. You will hear rumours that they don't eat waterbuck, for example, because waterbuck have a kind of strongly scented fur, but no, they will eat waterbuck. There is one thing that I have heard that they don't eat, and I've not seen it myself because we don't get many of them here, but that's something called a bush pig. And a bush pig is quite closely related to a warthog, and they seem sometimes to kill them and then just leave them. And they also sometimes, if they kill something like a hyena, they would generally not eat the hyena. Right, we're going to go forward. I'm just going to move out the way here so that this fellow can leave in front of us. We may lose the picture here as we go under here because we're going to have to fold the aerial down. We're going to make it under this here. We're going to have to drop the aerial fully. we go. Righty-ho. Right, while we're doing this, let's go across to Brent. We'll try and get another view of these lions, see what Brent has found.
So Bryan and I, being the killer bees and the eternal optimists that we are, have failed on the northeastern side. So they've just recently dragged our southern boundary. Now, fingers crossed that we're going to find a beautiful, dainty female leopard track, as well as two little cub tracks following it in. So we're going to just check very carefully along the road. A bit easier now that they've dragged it recently. So we are hoping to find Queen Karula, the dominant female leopard of Djuma Private Game Reserve. But alas, no tracks so far. But it has been quite quiet on the Djuma side. We saw a couple of more elephant bulls, but way in the distance. And the breeding herd seems to have moved off. I'm hoping they will come back soon. I don't think they're going to be gone for too long. There are just so many elephants around. I think we're just maybe having a quiet elephant day. Lisa in North Carolina is wondering about disease in animals here, and if a predator eats a prey species that's diseased, will they contract that disease? Now, in a lot of cases, Nisa, that happens, the predators will be immune to a lot of the diseases that are focused to ruminants or bovids, but in certain circumstances it can. And the most common one that jumps over in the predator-prey scenario is a bovine tuberculosis, mutates specifically with lion, leopard, and becomes feline tuberculosis. And although now it seems like a lot of the lions and that are developing natural immunity to it, but disease is part of nature, just as death is. So it's not uncommon for those things to happen. So while we continue to scour the southern boundary for for leopard tracks, I know James has got some other kitty cats to show you.
You won't believe this, everybody, but these lions have killed again. Not while you were gone, but quite apart from the affection you're seeing from the grass-eating lion with her tailless friend, the young male is devouring the remains of a young male warthog. Now that must have been killed today. Obviously happened to wander past this setting by mistake and was set upon by the lions. Now we're often asked questions about whether or not lions will sort of eat when they're full, whether they'll kill again if the opportunity presents itself, and absolutely they will, clearly. Isn't that amazing? I think that's absolutely astonishing. So they cannot be hungry. And Dylan, a very good question from you as to why hyenas don't eat, at least lions don't eat hyenas. I don't know. I can only think that the reason they don't eat hyenas is because they eat such foul things, and so their flesh is probably almost toxic. Now, that's difficult to kind of understand when you think about the foulness that they are prepared to eat. So they're prepared to eat the most kind of rancid buffalo meat, so why wouldn't they eat a hyena? I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I think it's probably got a lot to do with what they eat and the fact that their flesh therefore tastes disgusting. in much the same way as the flesh, for example, of the bush pig, we think tastes disgusting to lions. So unbelievable, poor warthog. I mean, of all the places to come wandering past today, this was the wrong one. Anyway, we'll see what happens here. We won't be here for too long, everyone. I think let's just enjoy for a little while, and then we'll move out and see what else we can find. Aaron in New Zealand, a very valid question, a very obvious question, and one to which you would expect me to know the answer immediately. I think I know the answer, but I'm going to check it for you while we watch these lions. You want to know why it is that we don't see bush pig on Djuma. I'm just going to retrieve my mammal book, but my guess, while I retrieve my mammal book, is that their habitat is just not right. I think they prefer more forested areas, more thickly vegetated areas, and that's why you will find them every so often in the Sabi sands along the rivers, so in the thick kind of deep bush of the rivers, but otherwise you won't find them here. Now, we don't have many forests in this area. You will find them up, I think, in Pafuri, where there are some examples of sand forest and very thick riverine vegetation. But I'll just have a quick look in my little book. This is such a perfect place to sit. I can't tell you how the atmosphere here is, apart, well, not for that warthog, it's miserable for that warthog, but for the rest of us, it really is just very pleasant. Okay, so the bush pig, a wide range of forested and woodland habitats with a distinct preference for valley bottoms with dense vegetation and soft soils. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back.
Well done, James. Well
Thank you
done.
very much. That was a correct guess. That's why we don't get them here. So I guess the ecological equivalent in drier areas would be the warthog. Now, Kay in Denver, you ask a very valid question, of course, because we tend to think of hyenas as being the great scavengers of the wild. And you say, could they have stolen this warthog? It's possible, but it's highly unlikely. I think that they moved into this area after they finished that buffalo. They lay down on what looks to be very comfortable sand. I think the warthog probably happened upon this area. It is very kind of dry away from the riverbed here. Probably walked through here thinking, I'll just go and pick me up some nice green grass on the fringes of the drainage line, and happened to step into its death, basically. Stepped into these three lions who thought, oh, we'll have that, thank you very much, and whacked it. So I don't think that they stole it. It doesn't look like it's been fed on for very long. Very lucky we are. Zoe, a nice question for you about nutrition and kind of the physiology of pregnancy. None of these lionesses, I don't think, are pregnant, but you do say, and we know that we've been seeing pregnant and lactating females with the Nkuhuma pride, you say, well, they eat differently, kind of because they're pregnant. I don't think they consciously do, and I don't know for sure, but I'm going to make another educated guess. And my educated guess is as follows. For most animals, of course, the limiting factor when pregnant, this elephant in front of us. This is going to be interesting. I can hear an elephant moving through here. Can't see him yet. Anyway, let me just quickly get onto this. So the limiting nutrient, macronutrient for pregnant females is fat, of course, and that's because the fat in the milk is a crucial nutrient for the babies to grow in, and not to grow in, but to digest and absorb. And so maybe a lioness would go for more fatty things. Maybe she'd try and get at the organs a bit more. Maybe she'd try and get at the marrow inside the bones a little bit more than some of the other lionesses would. That is possible. But I don't know for sure. Now, lion eyes, we're watching these lions, obviously, and VMP, if you can just go quickly to the male again, if you don't mind. Very nice super zoom shots there of the feet. Lion eyes, you want to know if they eat the skin. Now watch him, he is fastidiously avoiding eating the skin. You see how he's sort of chewing the bones, and he's using his tongue and his front teeth to get the flesh away from the skin. That skin is probably about 1/5 of an inch, so 1/2 centimeter wide. Very difficult to digest unless you're a hyena. Hyena will eat that. But, well, I'm sorry, that's the warthog. Slightly thinner skin than that. But these lions will still try and avoid eating it. You can see there. So he's folded that skin, and the whiteness of that skin is because he's been licking it, using his sandpaper-like tongue to scrape off the protein in the red meat. Look at his claws. Aren't those amazing? Gee whiz, that's a wonderful shot of the claws there. Look at those. You wouldn't want to be involved on the other end of those things. There we go, licking away the meat on the skin there, as opposed to trying to eat it and cut it up. Oh, look at his eyes. Fantastic, fantastic camera work there, VMP. Good job.
Thank you, James.
Well, you know, must give compliments where they're due sometimes. Here's the elephant. VM, look, straight in front of us. I think this is the same musk bull we had in this area this morning. He came past these lions, he chased them. They were very cross. He was very cross. And he's come back here simply because, for the same reason the warthog did. There's green vegetation here for him to eat. Look at him smelling us. And he'll smell the lions, and you'll be able to smell the smell of dead warthog flesh. Isn't that amazing? Wow, that's a stroke of luck. That is fantastic. Let's see what he does. He's going to struggle to come straight towards us from there because he's in a very deep drainage line. But if he keeps going along it, he's going to happen upon these lions who are going to get a nasty surprise. They're totally unsighted. They're in a sort of S-bend. So there's the drainage line, feeds around like that towards here where the lions are. So the lions will have no idea that the elephant's there. They've just looked up now because the vultures moved. So let's see what happens. This could be fascinating. So the elephant is basically walking along the drainage line there. He's stopped now and he's totally silent. He's only about maybe 40 feet away from us here. 50 feet. They know something's up. You can see they're just, one of the females has lifted her head. The male is gorging himself. Now, of course, I've had a little bit of experience with this elephant bull this morning, and he wasn't that impressed to see us, but he wasn't too worried about us either. So I'm not too concerned about sitting here and waiting and see what happens. You might also be able to hear the crunching now of the carnassial teeth of the young male. And thank you all for your screenshots. Brilliant stuff. There, so he's there we go, he is eating some of the skin. He might just be pulling it off. No, he's certainly having a... he's either eating it or sucking it. Let's see what happens here. No, he's just sucking it. See? He's just sucking at it. But let's see if he bites it up. He might. There we go. I'm sure he's going to take a piece. So it's not totally indigestible to him, clearly. Yuck. He's got a bit of rib cage in there as well. Now, his teeth. Oh, he's heard the elephant. Ah, he's looked up. His teeth, much like your dogs or your cats, and if you've got one handy, a small dog obviously, not a large Doberman or something like that, grab it, or your cat, and just tell it that you're going to be friendly, and then peel back the back of the lips of your domestic dog or cat, and you will notice that the molar teeth, unlike ours, don't close on top of each other, they close to the side of one another. The bottom jaw, I think, going underneath the top jaw's teeth, but actually touching them, and they create a scissors kind of effect, and it allows, these lions know something's up, what it allows is for him to cut the meat off the skin and off the bone, and also to cut up the skin like that. Oh, that's a nice piece, isn't it, Wium?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I just want to show you the only evidence of the elephant at the moment is this gently swaying tree in front of us. You can see where the golden light's coming through over that tree. You can just see it swaying gently. It's obviously stopped swaying gently now. Come on, shake it again. Well, that's where he is. He's just behind there. Here he comes. Impy. He's just moving now. There, you can see him. Let's see what happens now. So he is still unsighted, okay? He cannot see the lions. They're basically to the front and to the right of him. There we go. That's a brilliant shot. Okay, so this spit of land in front of us is kind of hiding them from him and him from them. Of course, now he's coming around the spit. And let's see what he does. He might just walk straight out of the drainage line. But elephants do not like lions. The male spotted him, or he's heard him. They still can't see. There the tailless lioness has seen something. Now that elephant will be able to hear that sound. He'll hear the tearing of flesh. And if he's particularly cross, he'll come around here and look. Otherwise, he'll just kind of look with disdain and then move off. He stopped. I'm sure he's listening and smelling. We can't see him, obviously. He's just behind there, through that mass of bushes. Oh, you can see him. That's fantastic. I can't see him from where I'm sitting. Brilliant, Wium. Is he looking this way? Can you see?
I think his head's facing us.
Yeah, that's right. There we go. Here we go. Lions are up. He's right up now. There's the kill. Now we're going to have to just be quite aware here that he doesn't take us for a predator, which no one really wants. He's just trying to smell us. Can't really go anywhere at this stage other than backwards, so I'm just going to wait to see what happens. We don't want him to confuse us for lions, do we? Wium? No, we don't.
No. Certainly not.
You just hang there, buddy. The lions are watching him. They're kind of in a stalk position. To kind of cause trouble. But he doesn't like the smell of flesh, and he doesn't like the smell of those lions. He's too close to take a decent photograph of. He's only about 10 meters in front of us, about 30 feet, smelling. And Susan, you say your heart is beating too, and so are the lions. Look at them, all three of them watching. And again, I say this, but there's no doubt as to the royalty of the bushes. These lions did not stand down, nor stand up for anything. The lions are like the mafia of the bush. They're not the royalty. This is the royalty in front of us, the bull elephant. He's a youngish bull, probably about 25 years old. He's definitely tusked. And the light is there, too wonderful. Just took 2 steps forward towards the lions and they've skedaddled. Everybody, we haven't moved. The elephant has turned to face us slightly. If he takes another step forward, I am going to just reverse to give him the chance to move past us unhindered. I don't think that this was going to be his original pathway. I think his original pathway was going to be back towards where he's going now. But I just want to give him a way, A, to get to the lions, and B, to get away from us if he wants to. There we go. Not not sure if he can get down there towards the lions. While he's there, I'm going to just reverse 2 meters. There we go. He just kicked off a whole heap of sand onto that hapless dead warthog. Unbelievable, this. Unbelievable. I'm just going to reverse slightly so I can give him a chance. If he wants to get at the lions, he must have that ability. He mustn't be afraid of where we are. We might get a better view of everything from slightly further back. Oh, there we go. Is that all good to you, Wium?
Can't see the ellie.
It's not ideal. We're a little bit further back. I think we're going to miss out here. Anyway, I'm going to stop here. Now what I've done is I've opened up the path that he was kind of walking on. Just see if he wants to come down towards the lions. Now that's not because I think he should have a go at the lions, it's just because I don't think that we should be getting in the way of anything that might happen. We want to have as little effect as possible. That very pale blonde lioness is now deeply bored by the fact that the royalty is in. You might hear him going, that's his hair going. We'll just sit here for a little while, everybody. I know it's not the best view in the world. Can you see him at all, Wium? Right, we haven't moved from here, everybody, and the lions haven't moved from here either. I must just apologise for the lack of stream. I'm afraid there's nothing we could have done about that. It's some kind of satellite glitch in Europe owing to bad weather, apparently. Anyway, sorry about that. But here we are, still with these wonderful lionesses. And, well, I don't know, the male's gone to sleep under a bush somewhere. The blondie with the amber eyes is still having a very nice eat. And the bobcat, as Wium likes to call her, that's the tailless female, she's just lying next to her mate. And every time she kind of looks like she might wake up, she the fat blondie goes, oh. Anyway, I think we're going to sit here another few minutes and then we're going to pull out and we'll go and see what else we can see around Arathusa. For those of you who do keep tabs on the rest of the leopards and lions of this area, apparently the Anderson male is mating with someone called Moyo, I don't know who that is, on Simbambili. And there are wild dogs on Shirley's, which are to the south of us. So there's lots of activity going on around here. We can't go to either of those properties, I'm afraid. But that's okay. We've had a wonderful time here today. There's the male. Lisa in North Carolina, good question about sort of lion dominance. And you say if an older, more dominant lion came in here, would they fight him for it or would they just leave him, you know, would they leave? No, they won't take the risk of fighting with him. They might give a kind of perfunctory growl. The young male might think about, at least, no, not the young male, the oldest female might think about making a stand. And if he didn't look like he was going to follow through on any serious attack, well, then she might kind of, they might try and share it with him. But, you know, a small kill like this, if a big male lion came in here, most likely pick it up and disappear. And if these guys came anywhere near him, he'd give them a solid beating. So, no, highly unlikely that they would get any meat at all were a big dominant male lion to come into this area. That said, I don't know where the Matimba males went. They were in this area yesterday. They obviously killed that buffalo that was around here. I don't know where they've gone or why they left, but they're not here, and so, you know, they're obviously not feeding that dominant at the moment. So maybe these guys would, you know, give those males what for. It's unlikely though. Alrighty, I think we're going to pull out of here. Let's go and see what else we can find. We've had an unbelievable sighting of these lions today. Twice. And twice with the same elephant. So I'm just going to go forward, turn around, we'll have one more look, and then we'll go and see what else we can find. I just don't want to really be here after it's dark. The sun is about to set. You can see it there, just sort of setting through the trees. And it's not a question of there being anything wrong with being here after dark. I just think that they've given us such a great time during the day that there's no real point in shining a bright white light on them if we don't have to. Let's watch out there. Ease my way around. Oh, I can see I can see the tracks of the warthog there, and where he was obviously set upon by the lions. You can see he came down to drink, wandered through there. Obviously the lions were just through here and they nailed him. Poor little fellow. Didn't live to tell the day. This is where we went yesterday, Wium. Should we go out that way? This would be quite exciting. See if we can do it again. In this car, we might get stuck. That was on Wendy. All right, well, while we get out of here, we may be stuck. Let's go across to Brent. He's back on the car. He's been tracking something. Let's find out if he found it.
So we're still on female leopard tracks at the moment, and they sort of head northwest. towards Impala Plains. I've got a sneaky suspicion it could be shadow. And I think I'm going to head towards our repeater. Now, our repeater sits on top of this crest over here and sends the wonderful signal out towards you. And also, being on nice high ground, might get a nice view of the African sunset. And she might be zigzagging, hunting through here, so she could pop out into the road. So I'm definitely quite excited about these tracks. They're definitely the best tracks I've seen today. So she went in towards, almost towards the sun, or what I'm guessing from the last track I had, somewhere between us and that gorgeous sunset. It's amazing how quickly you can feel the temperature drop now. This is, as that sun disappears. Nearly time to get the jackets out. So, hi Aaron, who's in New Zealand, the land of the long white cloud. Aaron is saying, apart from the obvious lion and leopard, what are some of the things that the killer bees might like to find? Well, I can definitely say I think cheetah's always up there for us. It's also a bit obvious though.
Honey badger.
Wow, honey badger from Bryan, wild dog, pangolin, serval, caracal, genets, any of the smaller, more interesting little mammals. I think like the real coup de grace would be an African weasel, or not a striped polecat, they're slightly bigger, but an African weasel. They do occur here, they're tiny. One of the, probably the second smallest carnivore after a dwarf mongoose. Nocturnal and very rarely seen. Here. So we're just going to jump back on board with Commander Bond while we restart our signal machine.
Right here, we're still here. We've just pulled out of, we just managed to get out of the drainage line now. I'm just trying to get into a position where we can see the vultures in the sunset. Wium loves to film a sunset, don't you, Wium? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I do apologize. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Wium?
No.
Can you hear me now?
No, I can't.
Yeah, are you sure?
Yeah, well.
Oh, good. There we are. That's the picture I wanted. It's not great. I'm going to show it to you anyway. I was hoping to get those vultures silhouetted perfectly in the setting sun, but there's a bushel in the way. That's not bad though, is it? It's pretty good. Pretty good. Just have a listen to what's going on around us, everyone. Couple of doves. Otherwise it's pretty silent. And there are a few red-faced mouse birds in the background going toot 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 toot. Very nice. Very pretty, Wium. Well done. I know that's not a leopard or any kind of cat eating something, but it was very pretty. There may have been a leopard silhouetted there. Now, just to give you an idea, everybody, just through there is one of the Arathusa, what they call luxury suites. Now, we are no more than, I don't know, about 200 meters, no, 100 meters from where that kill was. So You know, if you come to these lodges, you really are right in the thick of things. It's not like you are away from the action when you're in your room. You're right there. All right, Brent has managed to reboot his pack. Let's find out again what he's been doing.
So, all sorted, and we're going to go now check where I think this female leopard might come out. It could be anywhere from here. Luckily, nice soft sand to check for tracks. Oh, the elephants decided to kick a big dead stump onto the road, and I shall remove it rather than drive around it. Quite a solid piece of wood we've got here. Oh, maybe we can find a scorpion. Nope. No scorpions today. Now it's funny, I always find funny how elephants now, that no reason from a food point of view, I think that elephant was just having fun, dragged a dead log onto the road. So quite a few people will have realized that tomorrow morning, oh, hello, it's an animal. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. And there we have a lovely zebra. I just mentioned to Bryan a bit earlier, we haven't seen any zebras or anything so far this evening, so nice to catch up with a zebra. James Dungan is wondering about tomorrow morning, because we are going to be out very early. For us, it's going to be out in the dark. James is going to be sitting next to a fire. And it's going to be quite interesting to see what's out and about at that time. But James is wondering what format. As far as I realize, I think it'll be on all the normal platforms. I think if I'm saying anything that is lies, Final Control will tell me. So wherever you normally watch the live drives, it should be present. So whether you watch off Ustream, YouTube, WildEarth, Nat Geo, Wild, you should be able to get us. Oh, there's a snort somewhere. That sounds like a wildebeest to you, Bryan. I don't think there's a wildebeest snorting around here. But what is it snorting at? Question. Nothing that seems to worry the zebra too much. Now, I can only see one zebra, and I can't really hear any others munching away. Likely it's a young male. I can't really see it, but just gauging from the thickness of its neck and the fact that it's all alone. Okay, Mr. Zebra, if you see shadow come past, give us an alarm call. I'm just going to go check towards our repeater now. But if she does choose to walk this way, we know we've got this young boy keeping a lookout. Hi, Nisa in North Carolina. Nisa's wondering, is it more common for male leopard cubs to be slightly more adventurous than females? Saying just the last time they were watching, I think it was with James, the male came down the tree and started feeding while the female stayed with the mom. Well, Nisa, it depends on the individual leopard. Strangely enough, quite often the female cubs seem to be more relaxed than the males, but it all just depends on the individual. So I don't think there's any hard and fast rule about which one is supposed to be the most relaxed. Well, I'd be full of joy if we happen to find any form of leopard at the moment. So strangely enough, Shadow likes to use this road. Now, it's not a road we use often. Just wanted to have a quick look for tracks on it. And this is I suppose we could call it Eugene and Connors Road. But then, ooh, look at that. There's a beautiful big ellie bull. Oh, he's not looking too relaxed though. He's moving away. You just try to go a little bit further forward. It's okay, big boy. You can see his tail's not great. He might calm down a little bit if we sit for a while. As you can see above him is the Gari repeater. Now, that is what is currently sending you this glorious picture to wherever you might be in the world. Sounds like there could be a few more elephants around, but let's just try to get a bit of view of this guy. Just going to go very slowly. No, he's off. He doesn't like cars, that one. But I've come down here to check for tracks of leopard. And I've found tracks here quite a few times. There he is. It's okay, mister. Seems like there's quite a few more elephants. This is not the big one who was disappearing. This is another young bull. And Bryan and I have not seen an elephant female today. We've only seen elephant bulls. Hey, big boy. Now he's a lot more relaxed. I really hope we're going to get to that monster tusker again one of these days. I only saw him once. Oh, he's nice and chilled. We can move forward a bit. I didn't want to move too much if it was that boy who wasn't too relaxed. Hey, what's happening? And you can see he's early must. Now, of course, not the best animal to see when you are trying to find leopard tracks for multiple reasons. Firstly, they'll chase the leopard away. Secondly, those big feet obliterate tracks. I mean, he's probably late 20s. Maybe, yeah, late 20s. Hey, mister. I just want to sneak up ahead. It looks like there's actually a bigger bull. While we do that, James has got a bull of a different kind.
A nyala bull, everybody, is a very different kind, my favourite antelope. And look at his magnificence. You can see why he's my favourite. His beautiful chestnut legs, a throwback to his youth. And then his charcoal fluffy coat, even fluffier for the winter. His magnificent spiralled horns and the spots that he has dotted about his body, which I suppose make him slightly disguised, like dappled light flowing through the vegetation that we saw just now where those lions were. The sun has just set finally over the western horizon, and so the temperature has dropped markedly immediately. And I always find it so amazing how we hardly have a twilight here at all. You can just actually see the darkness of the night sort of creeping up over the eastern horizon. That's the southern horizon, but it's close enough. You can see that darkness, indigo colour coming up. And it always amazes me how quickly it envelops us. Of course, in the northern hemisphere and at higher latitudes, so if we could go any further south in South Africa, well, Cape Town, I suppose, it works the same. We have a long twilight once the sun sets, but here it tends to go dark sort of within 25 minutes after the sun setting. Let's carry on. We'll get one more view of these nyalas. Just driving very slowly towards them. Don't want them to get a fright and run away. So, the most vicious antelope fight I ever saw was between two nyala bulls, much the same size as the one on the right-hand side of your picture there. In the middle of, there are three here, but that one that you're looking at now in the middle of the boy on the left-hand side of the picture is a younger one and wouldn't sort of engage in a fight with the bigger chap. But at this time of the year, they finished their rut. All the females that are going to be pregnant before the lambing season are pregnant, or calving season, and the rest of them, well, they'll go one season without. And the bulls are now friends again. And so they'll settle into these little bachelor groups of 3 or 4 or sometimes 5, and they'll be probably quite close to a little group of females somewhere around here. But otherwise, they'll just enjoy each other's own company. But when the testosterone starts to course through their veins, the level of disgust, hate and aggression they show to each other is quite profound. Have you ever seen a more magnificent herbivore than that, Wium? Is this a bongo? Well, a bongo is pretty close, isn't it? I'll show you a picture of a bongo. I knew that Wium would have some smart aleck one-liner to give us. And now, thankfully, I have a book. I can show you what a bongo looks like. Close relative, of course, of that one. Stay there. I don't have him yet. Spiraled horn bovines. Here we go. 2, 3, 6. Check out all these ones. So the ones that we get, of course, we get the nyala. That's the obvious one. Then we don't get the lesser kudu, we get the greater kudu. The lesser kudu is just a slightly smaller kudu than we get. Now these are all spiral-horned antelope. There's a mountain nyala. He actually looks even more magnificent. I didn't know he existed until this very moment. He lives in Ethiopia. And then we have the greater kudu, we know him very well. And then the bushbuck, which we know, and there, everybody, is a bongo. They are magnificent things, and they live in the rainforests of Central Africa in the Congo Basin. Isn't that amazing? And then, of course, this thing here called the thitatunga. Can you say that, Wium? Thitatunga, yes, thitatunga. And they are found in the Okavango Delta and in the forests. And they have got an amazing set of feet. The cloves of their hooves are splayed like that. It looks like 2 fingers have been placed on the ground where they walk. It's quite astonishing. And then the last of the spiral-horned antelopes, everybody, in this lecture on spiral-horned antelopes is the eland. That is the giant eland found in various parts of Central Africa where you wouldn't go unless somebody paid you quite a lot of money, given the, well, it's quite dangerous, really. And that's it. Many, many spiral-horned antelopes, and they're all rather magnificent. I think the mountain nyala is now my new favourite, and I shall go and see him in Ethiopia soon. On we go, Wium. Oh, Brent has managed to find a sunset shot. Oh, I can see what he's looking at. Let's go and have a look.
So not only are we just sitting here and looking at this exquisite line of what looks to be cirrus clouds in the sky with the sun set, well, the sun's already set, but it's the time of the day when the predators are going to be on the move. So I'm just having a little listen for alarm calls while enjoying quite a spectacular view. You see the Drakensberg Mountains. There's still some Franklins calling, but we're about to go into that sort of crossover between night and day, where there's almost this eerie silence that stills the bush. Now, incoming, Brian. How brave are you feeling? Brian's feeling good. I'm going to keep a lookout, but there's some little free-tailed bats. Oh, it's a tiny... You got it, Brian's got it. Oh! It is a tiny little, one of the free-tailed bats. Very, very difficult to identify them when they're at that distance and moving at that speed. But one of the little insectivorous bat species. Incredibly fast flyers. Oh! Well done, Brian. I'm listening to a bunch of what sounds like little blue wax bills. And I thought for a moment they might be alarm calling, but they're not. And that brings in an interesting question from Ashley in the UK. Ashley's wondering, do even garden birds alarm call? She says she thinks sometimes the birds in her garden are alarm calling. Most definitely, Ashley. And in a suburban setting, they're normally going to be alarm calling at the domestic cat, Felis sylvestris, and possibly even, maybe not badgers, foxes in your part of the world. And I think most of the alarm calls will definitely be for your local neighborhood domestic cats, and they definitely pose the biggest threat to them. Fortunately, speaking of alarm calls, we haven't heard any. And I think we're going to make our way towards Sandy Patch, see if we can find my favorite pair of canids that are currently residing on Juma, that lovely pair of side-striped jackal. Hopefully they're going to get moving and foraging shortly. So, I've got to stop saying so is one of the things. So if you count how many times I say so, let me know. I'm going to practice not to say so we're going to do this. But anyway, Aaron, I'm really annoyed with myself because I have not succeeded in it this sunset safari. Aaron, sorry, in Florida. Now I've completely lost my train of thought. Aaron in Florida wanted to know bushfires, yes. Whether bushfires are a problem in the dry season, and they are under normal circumstances. This year, however, in this area, there's very, very little threat of bushfire, even though it's a drought, and that's because there's no grass to burn. So the fire will struggle to get going. What was that? It was a very, very annoying patch of grass that in the light decided to take on the guise of a leopard. We'll keep moving. Getting quite nippy. So as I was saying, during normal dry seasons, it is a problem, and we are conscious of it. This year, there's just not enough grass to burn. So there's, in this area this year, we're not going to get any fires, I think. And even if a fire started, it'll peter out really, really quickly. I'm not the only one who's excited to look for jackals. James Richard is also. He said, yes, let's go find some jackals. So I've seen them from this clearing here all the way through to Sydney's waterhole. Good spot to start checking. And of course, this is quite a common territorial march for both Karula and Shadow. This is the boundary between their territories. Now we continue to search along the boundary of Shadow and Karula's territories. Let's go see a large pachyderm with jays.
I'm not a large pachyderm, everybody. I'm not even a small pachyderm, but let's go ahead. There are a couple in here. There was a young one over there. He wasn't very large either, but at least he was a pachyderm, and he was shouting at us, very cross. He's a little fellow. There he is. Oh, shame, he's a little bit nervous. Let's just stop here and let him get comfortable. Of course, they will get slightly more nervous as the sun, well, as the light starts to fade. There's another fairly large cow next to us. She's there. That's her there, Wium. That one. See? And this little guy, he's a bit nervous, but he's also quite entertained, you see. There's quite a big herd around us, probably about, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 animals. Let's just watch this cow and see how she's picking up the last bits of green grass underneath this dead tree. She seems to be pretty comfortable with us. She's only about 15 meters away, 50 feet. And she's just, you'll find this a lot. The elephants find these sort of pushed over trees that they've pushed over, not necessarily her, but another of her kind, and under them grow sort of greenish plants that like to grow in the shade, and then they go and pick those out. So, you know, I think often we collect firewood sort of indiscriminately in the bush quite often, and it's a habitat not only for scorpions and termites and wood-boring beetles, but also for vegetation. That's obviously a very important food source for elephants. Let's keep an eye out what's going on behind us. There's a small one, quite a small one, coming just from behind us, a young bull. Oh, there's a whole lot. Ooh, she's not small at all. Just, that's wonderful. There's a big cow, quite possibly the matriarch. She's much bigger than the cow in front of us. And she just came walking past us, no problem at all, didn't react, taking her little baby off wherever they're going, and possibly another youngster from a previous birth. She doesn't look in that picture that she's bigger than the cow in front of us, but she is. She's probably about, well, maybe a sixth the size again. Look at that. That's fascinating. So she broke off the top of that stick, rejected the leaves completely. Now she's eating the bark and the wood. She didn't want the leaves there at all. I think that there's a massive, massive amount that we don't understand about the awareness that these animals have of their own nutrition, even if it's subconscious awareness, and so they select for specific pieces of plants. I also don't think we understand exactly how much tannin and the variation in tannin that the leaves have. I've seen elephants eating this tree often. It's a variable bush willow, I think. And I've seen them eating the leaves, and she's rejected those leaves out of hand. Or out of trunk. Oh, I love these questions. Sandy in Missouri, you say, do animals ever get diabetes or allergies in the same way that humans do? No, they don't, for very good reasons. Allergies, yes, maybe. Diabetes, absolutely not. Diabetes is a lifestyle disease. It is called, well, it can be genetic if you have type 1 diabetes, but that's far rarer than type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes is a lifestyle disease brought upon by our absolutely appalling eating habits as human beings. We don't eat what we evolved to eat. We eat far too much sugar, as many people know. Animals don't. This elephant eats precisely what it evolved to eat. It eats the vegetation it was supposed to. It evolved to eat. It eats, it eats and drinks the water that it was supposed to. Our human ancestors ate probably a bit of fat, quite a lot of fruit, many roots and that sort of thing, and they drank water. We drink Coca-Cola and coffee and booze and various other things. And basically, eventually our pancreases, which are the organs that produce the insulin that help us to digest sugar, well, they go into rebellion. And that's when you get type 2 diabetes. The animals out here don't ever have that problem. That's why you don't see fat animals out here, because they just don't eat what they're not supposed to, because they can't. And allergies, I think you'll find, to a large extent, are brought on by similar things. So we eat things that our bodies just are not designed to eat, and that makes us allergic. Isn't that interesting? I find it fascinating. This is fantastic news. Brent has managed to find those jackals again. Brilliant stuff.
Here we go, one of the little side-striped jackal. Oh, and Impala are quite full of nonsense at the moment because of the rut. So this jackal's lifted up and he's got his ears facing out. I do hear some alarm calls. And he's picked up his head, or she's picked up her head. I'm not sure if it's male or female. And he's worth having a look. The jackal's interested enough to pick its ears up. I think maybe we should as well. Let's try it. So sorry, this is as you know, it's a punga my plan is what we have done here. So our spotlight. I'm just going to try to balance one light on the jackal. Or I'll try to use the other light to see if there's anything. Oh. Ah, there we go. I can hear Impala horns locking. But it's not what we thought it was. It's Impala males fighting. And head down. Now, Bryan and I actually saw one of these jackal get killed by a leopard over a year ago now. Wow. A long time ago. Just below Quarantine. You see them there? Behind those Impala that are going really at it. Just behind the jackal. Wow, this is quite a serious fight. We've got enough light there. That was quite an impressive. Oh, off they go into the bush. Our beard says, "What a cute doggy." Well, they are related to doggies, but not doggies at all. Dogs are pack animals. Jackal prefer to live in pairs. Sorry, I'm just listening. Just trying to figure out what that snorting from the Impala means. Trying to watch the other impalas. They don't normally snort like that during the rutting. They normally have that afterwards. Might be worth our while just going to go have a look around the corner there. So, Aaron in New Zealand decided to stand up. Oh, stretch the back. And back to sleep. Well, yeah, that was beautiful while it did stretch its back. So Aaron was wondering why side-striped jackals are more omnivorous than the other jackal species. And it's because they fill an ecological niche. So they don't have to compete with black-backed jackal or golden jackal. And they live in an area where there's not as much sort of carrion and meat-based food available. And now that's further north in their range in the Miombo woodlands of Central Africa. Just, that's where all the snorting and whatnot and cavorting was coming from. You've got to be very careful with impala snorting at this time of the year. And quite often, it's nothing more than the boys showing off. And I think that's what it was. Nothing more than the boys showing off, unfortunately. I caught myself there before I said it. D says, I can't believe that's impala we can get. It's so unusual. For most of the year, you're absolutely correct. Very, very unusual. But over the rutting season, the mating season, that is probably the most common noise you hear out in the bush. Constant chasing each other up and down and around. I'll figure out which one. I want to swap those around then, I think. Oh, not quite the normal plethora of lights you get on our normal vehicles here. We're going to do a quick loop around this northwestern corner, and while we do that, let's go see what Jamesy's up to.
James is trying to get his spotlight out, and he has retrieved it. You see anything, Wium?
Yes.
What?
You.
Oh. Bat. Don't worry, we won't try and film the bat, everyone. We are on the southern boundary. The reason we seem to be driving through a cloud is that we are driving through a cloud of dust set up by 7 vehicles that went skedaddling along this road at a great speed. Not sure where they're going. Must be to either Chitwa, Cheetah Plains or Nkoro. But they weren't game drive cars. So we're just going to ease our way along here, and the reason we're easing our way along here was hoping perhaps to see a sighting of Karula coming back towards Djuma, which is to the left-hand side of your screen. But given that a greater number of cars have passed down this road than the ring road during rush hour in London, I think the chances of seeing her tracks are, well, negligible at best. So we'll turn up Twin Dams Road, have a look at the progress of the excavations there, and then we'll move up towards the centre of the reserve and see if maybe Tingana hasn't popped across to patrol his territory. There are some terrified looking impala. Now remember, we had that discussion earlier on about whether antelope get stunned by lights. They do, and so I've killed the lights. They just look a little bit like they might be alarmed by something other than us, so let's just stop and listen. Hello? Have you seen anything with claws and teeth? No. Not. Just listen to their footfalls, soft hoof falls through the dry leaf litter. And the last franklin's calling in the distance. Who'd be an impala at this time of the day? I tell you what, every night they must be in a constant state of abject terror. Are you glad you're not an impala, Wium?
Yes.
Valerie, the other day we had a question. I think I didn't make myself clear. The other day we had a question about whether or not an animal would go back to somebody had heard a legend that if a mammal or some kind of animal was to smell a human being on their baby, they would reject it and it would die. And I said I didn't think that that was necessarily true. It might be possible for some animals. And then I said it is definitely, I've heard that with birds, if you touch a bird's nest or an egg or a chick, then the parents will abandon the chick or the egg. And I said I don't think that that's true, because there are plenty of examples where certainly bird conservationists will go into a nest and retrieve one of the babies that would be rejected anyway. So perhaps a black eagle chick or a ground hornbill chick. And so, Valerie, just to clear it up, I don't think that birds do that by default at all. I think it's kind of been told to kids to make them stop robbing nests. That said, are there any animals that would reject their youngsters on the basis of a human scent? I don't know for sure, Valerie. I think it's possible, but not always. What, a track? Wium spotted a track. Oh, there we go. I see what you see. Hyena? Lion? It's hyena. Wium is a genius tracker, of course. I believe him completely. Right, well, here is Twin Mines. Good grief. We don't want to fall in there, do we, Wium? Right, well, it's a fairly large excavation. This Twin Dams is going to hold a very large pod of hippo, or a hell of a lot of dust, depending on whether we have a wet season or not. You could easily put a whale in there. You could find enough salt. So Valerie, I'm going to say no. I don't think that there are any animals that will by default, leave their babies if they smell of human being. Right, we're on Twin Dams now. I'm just quickly going to turn the radio up so I can hear what's going on. Let's just have a quick look, Wium, if you don't mind, while we have this camera with its super zoom. Can we have a look at the moon? Super zoom it. The waxing moon, everybody. Oh, look at that. It's so amazing. Look at that. You can see the craters And it's a little bit shaky because we're at full zoom, and I'm now sitting very still, trying not to breathe. Because if we move around, then the picture jumps around. So that's the waxing moon. Very pretty. Wonderful time of the day, this. Right, Wimpy. On we go. Oh, hang on a second. I need to clear something up. The other day, I'm going to go into a clearing here quickly before I clear it up. I got all tongue-tied trying to explain about the movement of the Earth and the Moon. And Judy H. said, no, the Moon doesn't actually turn, and then I agreed with her, and now I have to disagree with her again. So I'm just going to go with this discussion again. So while Wium shows you the Moon, I'm going to get myself into a position to show you what I mean. So there, obviously, is the Moon. Wimpy, do you have a torch with you?
Yes.
Can you give it to me, please?
Big one.
Wium is just going to get the torch. Right. Now, the Moon, of course, we know has a 28-day cycle. We also know that we only see one side of the Moon. We do not see the back end of the Moon there. That's where all the googlies live. Now, for that to happen, the Moon has to have an orbit around its own axis of 28 days, in the same way that we have in fact, I'm going to use I don't need the torch, I'll use the vehicle light. In the same way that the Moon moves around the Earth in 28 days, so it spins on its own axis in 28 days. And I'll show you why that is essential. If we are seeing the same side of the Moon all the time, this is what must happen, okay? Let's pretend that that light shining on my face, okay, is our eyes. The front of the vehicle is our eyes looking towards the Moon, and I'm the Moon. If you are only going to see this side of my face, right, as you are now, and I've come 90 degrees around now, can you see how I've turned? If I had not spun on my own axis, this is what would have happened. I'd be facing this way. And by the time I got round here, you would see the dark side of the Moon, aka my bubble bottom. You see what I mean? So by the time the Moon goes all the way around the Earth, it must have turned on its own axis. So it turns on its own axis in 28 days in the same way that it goes around the Earth in 28 days. I got so tongue-tied and so confused trying to explain that the other day, I had to confirm it all again to myself, and now I'm satisfied that I have it correct. Wium, are you satisfied that I have it correct?
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
You weren't listening, I see. Right, well, you won't get any supper tonight. Okay, let me plug back in. What a relief. On we go. Sorry, I wasn't listening, he says. Yes? Oh, switch on the main lights. Yes, of course, I'll switch them on. There was a dark hole in front of the car. Thank you, Wium. See what we can find as we go into the drainage line. This is the lowest point on Djuma, which means it's the coldest point on Djuma. Duiker through there, sorry. Thought it might be something nocturnal. It won't. So much like the impala and the kudu and the nyala and all of those sorts of animals will become stunned by the light, so will the duiker, so we avoid shining on him. Now, while I'm driving along, I know Brent mentioned this, but I'm just going to mention it again. Tomorrow morning, we have a very early start. We're going to be doing a special broadcast for Hayden Turner to the Taronga Zoo and the Dubu Zoo in Australia, and we're going to be talking to them during their lunchtime. Now, their lunchtime for us, gulp, is at 04:30 our time. So goodness knows what time of the night that is going to be in the United States. But it will be at a time that's actually probably more convenient for many of you to watch. It'll be probably around about 9 o'clock in the evening or 10 o'clock. Whoa, pearl-spotted owl. It's not a pearl-spotted owl, it's a barred owl. Look at that. I know the tree's in the way, everyone, but I'm not going to move. That is fantastic. It's the same size as the pearl-spotted owl, maybe slightly bigger. Wow. Isn't that fantastic? It's only about, what should we say, about maybe 8 inches tall? Maybe 6 inches tall, actually. A tiny little bird. And look, you can even see it's what we call zygodactyl feet. 2 claws to the back, 2 claws to the front. Look at that. So most birds of the, or passerine birds, are 3 front and 1 back. I'll tell you what I'll try and do. Let me just push the clutch in and see if we don't go back a little. No. I'm not going to start the engine. Let's just enjoy the sighting. Isn't that lovely? He nearly flew straight into the car. And I'd have catched him. Oh, didn't like that.
I'll catch you.
And catch me, yes. They always look so cross. Fantastic. Fantastic sighting. You don't see these things often, I must say. I'm just quickly going to open up his page on my bird app. Wium, what's that grinding noise from the back of the car?
Probably something catching fire.
Okay, well, as long as it's nothing serious. Let me just quickly find him for you. And I want to just check what he eats, because I'm pretty sure I've got it right. Yes, it's rodents, largely. And I'm also going to play his call for you, because it's such a nice call. Right, are you listening, everybody? Here he goes. I'm not going to play more than that. Oh, he's still there, because I don't want him to be affected by it. But anyway, that's what he is. He eats largely rodents and that sort of thing. Isn't that amazing? Tiny little owl, only about that big. Fantastic. Yay! Sally in Oregon. I nearly called you Sarragan by mistake. I got your name and your town into one word. Sally in Oregon, you say number 79 for your bird list. Brilliant. And your personal favourite. He's a good one to have as a favourite, I think. Some magnificent yellow eyes. Lovely voice he's got. Right, let's head across to Brent and get an update from him. I'm going to continue up Twin Dams.
Hello again. Bryan and I have decided to meander towards the Gallagher Pan at the hope that something extra special has popped in for a little drink. And at the moment you'll notice I'm so beautifully lit, and that's because Bryan's long arm is holding a torch. Here we go. So Bryan's testing his arm strength so you can see my face. I'm trying not to drive off the road. So as you get so used to having all those lights, and I feel like I'm driving in the dark almost. We good? Cecilia says my sows are coming in a little slower, but I'm up to 793. Cecilia, I think you're lying. I think maybe 63, but 793? That's a lot of sows. We're about to arrive at the pan. What is out here? Could there be a buffalo? An nyala? Bryan thinks there's going to be a leopard drinking. I hope Bryan is right. There's a buffalo and an elephant. And we're not going to shine the light on them too long. Unfortunately, no. The elephant's disappearing there, and the buffalo is just arriving. Unfortunately, no leopard.
Where you are now.
Okay, so we're going to check towards the other pan.
Yeah, there's a guy around here. Look at this side. So I'll check this one here.
Oh, it's chilly at the bottom of these little river systems at the moment. Bryan was saying he needs to cut a branch. So every time I say so, he's just going to hit me on the back of the head. I nearly did it again. Well, haha. When I first sort of started this presenting malarkey, I used to all the time. And I managed to beat the so we will beat the so as well. I think the are more difficult to beat than the so. See, the reason I have 793 so's is because Cecilia is counting in dog years. So that probably means I've had 9. So nothing in the bottom of that little river system, but James has a nocturnal bird to show you.
Come back. You just caught an insect. There, everybody, is a very beautiful piece of road that unfortunately had a fiery neck nightjar in it. And what was so nice about the sighting, which you're now not going to see, was that the fiery neck nightjar, when it turned its head, it had bright red on the back of the neck. And I've never realized why it was called fiery neck before this very moment. Oh well, there it is. Let's carry on. We did see a kill, yes, it ate an insect and then flew off. I think it heard Kirsten saying you're live and it decided it didn't really want to be part of that, so it departed. Yes, and at least we had the owl, I suppose. That's a good point. Not too cold just yet, and I'm amazed. We've had a very mild winter, but I did read today that there's a cold front lashing the Cape at the moment. The Cape is normally lashed by some form of foul weather, but today a vicious cold front coming through, which will probably reach us by the end of tomorrow. We'll probably just get the tail end of it. It might get a little bit cloudy here, but I don't think it's going to rain. Bush baby in here. I just saw it jump. There it is. Oh, you can't see it, can you, Wium? It's just in there. That's it. There he is. Little bush baby. I'm going to, hang on a second, turn this light. There we go. So go back a bit.
Try.
You try and go back a bit. It's just so nice with the super zoom camera, everybody. There we go. I'll put some more light on him. There we go. Beautiful. I think that's another one calling. You hear that, Wium?
I do.
I think that's another one calling. They're normally silent. It fact, I've so seldom heard that noise. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, and I think it's alarm calling at something. Yeah, I think that's a bush baby alarm call, and I think that's why this one's looking that way and it's not moving. Let me just, we're going to go forward, just see if we can't see what it's shouting at. It was just calling inside here somewhere, I think. There. I can actually see it. But you're not going to see it. It's too far away. I can just see it's there. There, you can just see the light there. You see his eyes? That's what's alarm calling. I don't know what he's shouting at. Let's go a little bit further forward. Maybe we'll find a leopard lying on the ground below. Could easily be a genet or a civet or a snake. But I don't see anything in here now. So one more little listen. Look up the road. But I can't hear anything. Well, I can't see anything, I can hear. You hear it going? Anyway, nice way to end our drive. Right, remember tomorrow, everybody, 04:30 beginning till 07:30, whereupon we'll all go back to bed. Thank you, Wium, for your efforts today. Brent says a fond farewell to you. He is with Bryan, of course, on the Mahindra, and from the final control. Oh yes, and from the final control, Kirsten says goodbye, as does Chelsea and Jerry. And of course, tomorrow we have a new cameraman with us, Mr. Gert, a very substantial fellow from Hoedspruit. A big thanks to all of you for your questions and comments. We'll see you in the morning at 04:30. Bye-bye.